Hello, my name is Ethan Chazin. I am a New York-based organization development coach, and today's video is on conscious capitalism. I've been waiting a really long time to finally share my thoughts on the topic. This is one of the most powerful, transformative mindsets that an organization can undertake to shift their focus from shareholder value or pure monetary financial goal achievement to stakeholder value, meaning all of the groups of individuals that come into contact with the organization, starting out with its employees, then filtering out to its clients, the community, media, legislature, the communities that it acts in accordance with. It's a really powerful shift in mindset. And so I want to kind of walk through today for you what conscious capitalism is, what it looks like, some of the key characteristics of those organizations that are firmly in that world, that mindset of stakeholder value, and also talk a little bit about how organizations are navigating to that. So let's start out with the definition of what is conscious capitalism. So it's an ethical approach to profit making that emphasizes environmental and social impact. So when you compare it to traditional capitalism, or as I said before, shareholder value, conscious capitalism takes a broader view of value creation and the stakeholders that a company serves. So the conscious capitalist pursues profits for shareholders while creating value for employees, suppliers, communities, society writ large, and the environment. So I want to kind of talk about the origin of it. It all kind of evolved from the concept of conscious capitalism, evolved from a book that was written back in 2012 by John Mackey and Raj Sisodia. Mackey, you probably know the name, founder of Whole Foods, and Raj Sisodia at Babson College, was a marketing professor and co-founder of Conscious Capitalism. You may have heard of Babson College. Basically, Goldman Sachs gave money to Babson College to develop a program for entrepreneurs and startups for an ethical methodology for building business called the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program that emanated or originated out of Babson College. So the book Conscious Capitalism, Liberating the Heroic Spirit of Business, built a business case for the rethinking or upgrading a form of free market capitalism. So Mackey and Sisodia stated that business leaders can achieve far more success incorporating a sense of higher purpose into their organization rather than the simple, naive focus, the insular focus of profit and pursuing profit. Conscious capitalists and the people who use that mindset to plan and launch and grow businesses that are wildly successful. The mindset is that they're not just accountable to shareholders, they're accountable to the entire population and the environment too. Business leaders and employees should incorporate the needs of a broader group of constituent stakeholders into their daily decision-making. That's a really powerful consideration. The goal of conscious capitalism is ambitious and transformative. The overarching goal is to make a positive impact on the world. A starting point is elevating this concept, this 20th century or outdated notion of capitalism to its highest level of potential, where business as usual gets replaced. The mindset of wealth generation gets replaced with enriching lives and healing the environment. This is a really, really important transformational mindset in business approaches. It's significantly different than the way things used to be done. The conscious business pursues many objectives under the umbrella of positive change, societal change. Examples include a workplace culture that fosters leaders who are driven to serve ethically, employees who are both passionate and fulfilled in this thing called work and the workplace that practices conscious capitalism. Workplace cultures that are accepting and authentic, wealthy shareholders, opportunity-rich communities, and a healthy, flourishing planet. This is the power. This is what I certainly have been talking about for the last 15 years of my consulting practice. So I felt it was high time in a post-COVID world to start to share the power of conscious capitalism and the benefits that accrue out of them. And there are many. So I'm just going to go through a short list of conscious capital organizational benefits. Businesses, people, and the environment all benefit from a conscious capitalist approach. Socially conscious businesses, they build more trust, which can enhance loyalty with their clients. Happier, more motivated employees who are more productive, provide better customer care. They focus more on achieving creative problem solving and critical thinking. They work collaboratively. They're more efficient, and they care more about their customers and build stronger relationships with customers. Conscious businesses work constantly to promote and enhance the communities that they do business in, which can elevate the quality of life for the people who are fortunate enough to work in those organizations, where those organizations are actively engaged in their local communities. Conscious capitalist organizations are driven by programs that conserve energy, reduce waste, reduce the consumption of non-renewable resources, and they help protect the environment and counter the effects of climate change and pollution. And lastly, socially responsible investing and environmentally sustainable growth investing are growing in popularity. There are types of stocks and stock portfolios that are built on organizations that practice conscious capitalism. They appeal to investors who demand good corporate citizenship. So this is really powerful. I want to share with you the book, Conscious Capitalism, by John Mackey and Raj Sisodia. If you haven't read it, it's a really phenomenal place to start on your journey down the path of enlightenment towards a conscious capitalism and the positive impact from a societal construct. It's a great place to start to read. So what is it all about? I want to talk a little bit about organizations that have already gone down this road and the benefits that accrue to them. It's a philosophy of doing business, as I said earlier, that incorporates the principles of higher purpose beyond profit maximization. That's not the goal. That's actually an outcome that's achieved by organizations who do practice conscious capitalism. It's not a focus on maximizing shareholder value, but stakeholder interdependencies, groups of individuals like moths that fly around the flame of the organization, clients, employees, suppliers, vendors, the community, society at large, government agencies, media outlets. Every group of individuals who touch that organization in conscious capitalism, that's their focus. It's not the same conscious capitalism as things you may have heard about already, like corporate social responsibility, shared value capitalism, creative capitalism, capitalism 3.0. Conscious capitalism, the distinction is this way of doing business goes beyond the ideas of philanthropic thinking or virtue, in that it's meant to create an entirely new structure for businesses whose financial integrity rests upon things like the thought processes inherent in purpose-driven leaders, creating multifaceted value for all stakeholders, leading through mentoring, motivating and developing people, rather than bringing them in, having them do work, churn and burn them out, and then get rid of them. It's well beyond simple reward and recognition initiatives. It aligns leadership with organizational purpose for complete clarity. I want to talk a little bit about something that's really relevant when we talk about conscious capitalism. Fear versus trust in culture, in a corporate culture setting. While at first glance, fear and trust may not seem like direct opposites, in the human brain, they are. According to Yerkes Dodson, the law of mental acuity, mental tasks have an inverted U shape. So if you think about it, it goes the other way. An inverted U-shaped relationship with anxiety. That is, the higher arousal or anxiety improve performance up to a point. So up to a point, making people feel anxious, lacking job security, the threat of repercussions or punishment, it increases performance only a little bit in the short term. But after that peak effect wears off, there's a declining return in making your people feel fearful or worried. Numerous studies have demonstrated that fear and anxiety activate the brain's emotional processor, the amygdala. Remarkably, the fear or anxiety does not have to be conscious. You do not have to be thinking about this thing of fear when you go to work, fear of reprisal, fear of stepping outside the boundaries of your limited roles and responsibilities, fear of punishment for lack of performance, fear of lack of job security, fear of not gaining a living wage, not gaining a wage that's commensurate with your work, not being able to provide for yourself and others. All of that fear has a negative return for employees. And the fear doesn't have to be conscious, as I said. So unconscious fear appears to activate the amygdala even more powerfully than conscious fear. In the work environment, this means that a leader who leads with an iron fist, a manager who uses intimidation, threats, and a corporate culture that's infused with threat and punishment all activate within their people the amygdala, regardless of how much an employee pushes this. They try to ignore it. They try to put it aside to get their work done. That's a powerful, powerful statement. So why does this matter? Because research studies show that the amygdala is connected to prefrontal pathways. Excessive amygdala fear activation disrupts our prefrontal pathways, thereby impacting our decision-making. A high level of trust, on the other hand, decreases amygdala activation, thus offsetting the adverse impact of fear on decision-making and risk assessment. When a corporate culture is trust-based, even implicitly, we trust our people. It makes things easier on people in terms of amygdala stress, especially during stressful economic times, like we just lived through with a global pandemic, or recessions, or changing interest rates, or changing mortgage climates, or changing financial considerations. Thus, high trust corporations are preferable to high fear corporations. Let me say that again. High trust organizations are preferable to high fear corporations. Add to this the fact that high trust organizations financially outperform low trust organizations by 286% in total return to shareholders. Thus, it's incumbent upon an organization, if you're not even thinking altruistically about the positive impact on your people, from an old 20th century shareholder impact, it behooves the organization from a culture construct to develop a culture based on trust. Okay, so there's a little bit of the psychology of it. Now I want to go to companies that actually put this to work, this thing called conscious capitalism, and the positive results that they've achieved. So organizations that practice conscious capitalism perform 10 times better financially than those that don't. Okay? If you had told me when I was attending college during the height of the Vietnam War and the heyday of the counterculture that several of the most inspiring days of my life would someday be spent with a group of CEOs of large companies, I would have said you were nuts. But that's exactly what I experienced last week at a small gathering sponsored by an organization called Conscious Capitalism. and held at the Esalen Institute in Big Sun, California. So this was written in April of 2013 by Tony Schwartz, right after the book Conscious Capitalism was published. Even today, conscious and capitalism remain unlikely bedfellows. Both are freighted words that have come to stand for fundamentally different worldviews. Capitalism is associated with individualism, personal ambition, the accumulation of wealth and power, and an identity grounded in external accomplishment. The word conscious, or more specifically consciousness, is associated with self-awareness, personal development, the greater good, and a worldview that eschews competition, hierarchy, and materialism for empathy, caring, positive impact to society, care and concern, and best trust of the environment. The entire central thesis behind this thing called conscious capitalism, which came out of the book by Mackey and Sisodia, is that capitalism can be a force for economic and social good. It achieves both financial, exceptional performance, and the ability to do well societally. Okay? So that's kind of where we're coming from. So I just want to kind of share with you the 18 publicly traded companies, and this is going back to 2013. So as I sit here right here in 2024, 11 years ago, 18 publicly traded companies out of the 28 who focus on, who have conscious capitalism at the core of their culture. Those 18 out of the 28 outperformed the S&P 500 index by a factor of 10 over the years 96 to 2011. So that 15-year period. And why in the end should that be a surprise? Conscious companies treat their stakeholders better. As a consequence, their suppliers are happier to do business with them. Employees are more engaged, productive, and likely to stay. These companies are more welcome in their communities, and their consumers are more satisfied and loyal. The most conscious companies give more, and they get more in return. The inescapable conclusion: it pays to care wildly, deeply. So that's some of the benefit. And last, I want to share with you an organization that I leaned on heavily back in 2011, 2012, when I went down a nearly decade-long journey. When I asked myself early on in my consulting practice, what, if any, characteristics do all of the best organizations all over the world, what characteristics do they share, if any? And I looked specifically at organizations that were either the number one or number two highest financial performing organizations in their respective industries or sectors. And what started out in 2011, going into 2012, is kind of something that I just periodically researched. I kind of followed Alice down the rabbit hole, and I spent going on almost a decade researching organizations who practice the highest levels of ethical behavior to achieve the highest levels of financial performance. And I discovered an organization called Ethisphere. And Ethisphere has been doing work all over the world to identify those organizations that practice conscious capitalism. They behave in an ethical fashion that allows them to outperform their competitors. And so I researched over and over again those organizations to see what, if any, attributes they share. And as I said, after crunching a lot of data, I came to the conclusion that there's only one characteristic that all amazing, high functioning, highly successful organizations exhibit. And that's a compassionate culture. And so every year, Ethisphere, going back a pretty long time, every year Ethisphere takes a look at those organizations that are the highest performing, highest functioning ethical organizations, who also are the highest in performance. And so when you look at the list of companies, it is really, it's a who's who of all of the best run organizations all over the world. So go to ethisphere.org and take a look at the world's most ethical companies. And that led me, after that decade-long research, to publish my second book, The Compassionate Organization. So here's what I want to close with. Conscious capitalism is the future of organizational culture. It is the future of creating cultures that care about many different groups of stakeholders, starting with your people, and then gravitating out to your clients. You take care of your employees, they will take care of your customers. But it's not just in an insular mindset, doing well for your people and your customers. It's the communities that your business exists in. It's the agencies you interact with, your suppliers, your vendors, your contractors, the media, any group of individuals that your organization interacts with, that's a stakeholder group. And so I strongly suggest, and in my consulting practice, I highly recommend the organizations I work with to stop thinking about the function of, or the goal of, profit maximization, because that's an outcome. That's not a goal. Start thinking about your legacy, what you want your organization's lasting positive impacts to the world at large to be, and that'll get you towards a more conscious capitalism, where you perform at a higher level, you maximize your financial performance by doing well. Thank you so much for taking time to check out the video. If you like it, please be sure to like, share, subscribe to my channel, and let me know what you think. Take care. Bye-bye.